So we are so thrilled to bring this next guest to the Real Talk studio. She's the excellent analyst down at Gulfstream Park, whose championship meet opens this weekend. Samantha Perry, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, it's good to be here.
Oh, so glad to have you. So, like I said, the eyes of the world will be upon you this Saturday as the Gulfstream Championship meet opens. Gulfstream is a year-round track now, but this is where the big guns really come.
Yeah.
Just tell me, what 30,000-foot view, what is so special about the championship meet? What are you looking forward to?
Well, it's about 20 degrees cooler than it is during the summer meet, which helps. It's like the world just turns and they're like, yeah, this is it. So you can even tell this weekend, guys, that just the atmosphere kind of changed. They're doing the last minute shrub and bush trimming and painting of things. And the crowd was actually really incredible this weekend, which was exciting. And I know the weather had a lot to do to that because it doesn't feel like hell on earth down here in Hallandale. But the main thing is that it's just, you see the quality of horses start to filter back. Sorry, I got a cat by me. I got a tail. Right. But it's really cool to see that gap. And I was talking with the other analysts about this yesterday, that when you see these other horses, like grade 1 winners, like White Barrio on Friday, or yesterday with Olivia Darling, they just make the rest of the summer meet horses look like ponies, honestly.
Yeah, no question about it. And Sam, is there like a favorite week or weekend that you have during the championship meet?
Well, I think you guys have made Holy Bull my favorite right now.
Aw, that's very
kind of you. I think so, because I think it's, and on the other hand of that too, it's busy, but it's not Fountain of Youth. So like the stress is still kind of mildly high, and it's not Florida Derby where it's like, oh my God. And then it's not Pegasus where all of Southern Florida is at, like, on your back door. So I feel like it's a good, happy medium.
You guys might have gotten into this on the breakaway, but you do have a quarter horse jockey background and you're an excellent handicapper now. Did the handicapping come first, or did being a jockey come first and then you learned how to handicap?
My mom definitely broke a lot of rules when I was a kid by letting me bet at Remington Park in Oklahoma. I was rodeoing, and we would go from my rodeos to Remington Park, and like the trailer would be like out in the parking lot, and we would run in and go bet on the 4th race. And I would just tell Mom, oh, bet Cliff Berry, like $2 on this. So, but I didn't know what I was doing by any means. And I feel like, and I say this a lot, there's a big difference between handicapping and then just knowing how to look at a horse, and both of those are like two different things. So I feel like we're learning every day, and if you stop learning, then what are you still doing?
Right. And I would imagine that it would help, you talk about confirmation. It would help you when you're starting to look at these young 2-year-olds, early 3-year-olds, when they come into the paddock, whether it's the first time or maybe it's the first time at Gulfstream. What specifically are you looking for in these young horses in order to give them the edge? If 2 or 3 horses are equal, based on your estimation on the numbers or whether or not they can win, what puts you over the top?
Probably at least just fitness level, especially if they haven't had, any races prior to, or if they're breezing one way and then it looks when they come to the paddock, they've lost about 50 pounds since whatever breeze, or have they bulked up, or have they grown from those April sales or the June sale or the March 2-year-old sales? Because you see a lot of horses, and you know this, John, that it seems like whenever they leave one of the 2-year-old sales, it's like they deflate. Almost. Yeah. So, and it's paying attention to those specific consigners, and what to look for, and what's not. I mean, most of that is just repetition.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think it's hard for me to tell the difference between horses at places like Gulfstream because their coats are always so beautiful, and like if the weather is so conducive to them always looking great and dappled out and everything like that. So like when they do all look so good, like what are like the very minute differentiations that I should look for?
So I'll give a great example. Rated by Merit, who is the undefeated 2-year-old who we'll see on Saturday here at Gulfstream in the last leg of the Florida Sire Stakes. That horse is the St. Elias owned, and Mike Yates trains the horse. That horse in the second leg, in between the first leg and the second leg of the Florida Sire Stakes, I had gone back to the barn and shot a little promo video when he was still the fastest 2-year-old Read into that what you will with the buyer numbers, but and it was almost like he kind of looked like a non-sweater, which is just where their coat almost has this wave to it, and you can just kind of tell that they just don't sweat, which is bad for a horse. Some people even say like feeding him beer can help them sweat.
Yep.
And I just was looking, I was like, this is weird. Like, we're in the dead of summer and this horse is like furry almost. I was like, this is odd. And I never asked Mike Yates about it because I'm not going to, I mean, who am I to say anything? I'm not a trainer. And whenever he came for that second leg of the Florida Sire Stakes, he was just slick. And you could just tell the difference in the hair. And it wasn't being clipped either, because if you look a lot at these horses that have been clipped, you can see like on their tail, like up at the like the top of the tail, there's like a patch where you can see they still have like their original coat. And it was just like finally he turned over. It was just like finally he caught that, and you could just see now. Obviously, Joe, like it would be hard for you to see if you were looking at the first race and then seeing him in the paddock. Luckily, I was there, but I mentioned that, and of course you look at the board and he's 1-9. So I'm not telling anybody anything special, but that would make a big difference for me and something that I would want to bring to the public with whoever was listening. Like, hey, this horse was, he looked like he was about 1 week away from needing to be clipped. And now he looks phenomenal. And I can tell that they didn't clip him. And that makes a big difference because horses, when they feel good on the inside, they look good on the outside.
Yep. So Sam, aside from being a talent, being able to see horses and look to see if they're sweating or what's improved or anything like that, you did dip your toe this week into being a racetrack announcer. So I'm not going to embarrass you. We're not going to play the two races that you did, although I thought you did a fine job, especially in jumping in at the last minute. But I do want you to wear that hat and give us the play-by-play for a race that you would have run in at the College of Sequoias, because very few people know that you were like a track and field star as well in college. What would that race be like?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, let me tell you what happened yesterday. This was Sunday. We're sitting on the set and we did the show, and usually we stay out on the set after because there's just not a lot of time to go back to the office. And they said, "Hey, Ron, do you mind doing the changes?" And he was like, "Yeah, no problem." So he read the changes from the set, and they go, "Hey, Sam, put on your headset." And it's like 3 minutes to post. And I was like, "All right," just thought we were planning a video out. And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And they go, "Hey, have you ever called a race before?" I said, "No." And they go, "Okay, well, you're going to call the first race." I was like, "Wait, did you not just hear what I said?" I said, "No." They were like, right. "It's fine. Just worry about the top 4 horses. Like, it's fine. Just get them around there." They were like, "It's the first race. Don't worry.
Yeah,
it's
nobody's
first
paying
race."
attention, right?
Yeah, nobody's paying attention. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I mic'd up and I'm sitting there looking at the little TV on our set, and I just have the pocket program in front of me. And they were like, "Okay, like at 0 minutes when they start loading in, your mic's just going to be hot the whole time. Like, we're just going to keep it on." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And yeah, there we go. And I just watched the TV. Now, as a handicapper, you always say like the number 2, Boppio, trained by Marquette, blah, blah, blah. Like it was so hard to get that, not saying the number out of your mind. And I got him past the wire or whatever. I was like, whew, okay, we're done. We're good with that. And then I get a call from my boss and he goes, "Hey, that was really good, but next time don't call the numbers. We're not a dog track. Don't call the numbers. Just call the horses." And I was like, "Yeah, next time." He goes, "Yep, you're going to do the second race." You just gave me something to think about and a whole other race that is now a sprint. And I was like, oh God. So yeah. And then I was thinking in my head, like, don't call the numbers, don't call the numbers. And when you're thinking that, you want to call them even more so. Exactly. And I was like, oh geez. I just tried to stay as calm as I could. I didn't want to get cute with it because first off, I don't have time to think about it and get cute with it, and just try to call the winner and not guess. Because when the camera switches to that head on, when I'm looking at the television, you don't know what's going on. So
right. Yep.
I don't want to do that again.
Newfound respect, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I know. It's funny. People on social media, they were like, "Oh, why are they trying out somebody right before the championship meet?" I'm like, you think I wanted to do this? Like, I would have practiced. I don't like getting thrown into things I'm not going to be good at. Like, that was just me. Team player here.
It was very good. I think you're being hard on yourself.
You're a great team player, and you had an extra 25 minutes to prepare for race 2 at least.
Yeah, come on. That's
which
right.
Which made it way worse. It was like sweating.
At least you improved. I mean, some of us, haven't improved from show 1 to show 70. So, I give you a lot of credit that you've actually improved.
We're talking about you, right?
We're talking about me, of course. I only talk about me. Haven't you learned? Joe's been a professional from the beginning.
I got a handicapping question for you, Sam. So, a lot of people. So, New York might get a synthetic track. It sounds like it's going to happen actually in the winter. So we can be racing year round at Belmont. A lot of people complain about synthetic tracks. It's been a reality at Gulfstream for a while now. The Tapeta. I find it to be like somewhat between dirt and turf, where speed isn't quite as much of a weapon as it is on dirt. But the turn of foot isn't quite as much of a weapon as it is on grass. Just give me some general pointers, because there's going to be a lot of synthetic racing over the winter at Gulfstream. What are some things you look for?
It's been a little bit of the bane of my existence. The past couple of years. But I will say this: I find it less about trying to think if the horse handles the turf, they're going to handle this. I've gotten that completely out of my mind, because I treat it as a whole other surface. I get the thought process of it, and maybe the kickback would be the only thing. Like, if a horse doesn't like kickback, they're going to like the Tapeta. They're not going to get any. But the main thing is it changes so fast, the way it plays. So Saturday, if you were not on the front and it didn't matter how fast you were going, you didn't win a race going long or short on the Tapeta. Now, yesterday, and you're going into the Rainbow Six, that was mandatory. You think about that. I changed some picks in the morning, like, okay, well, the speed was good yesterday. I'm not going to pick a deep closer. Everything closed yesterday. Everything did. And came up the rail. Like Mark Cassie's horse came right up the rail. Irad Ortiz did a move on Saturday where instead of going to the outside, he dove into the rail, and the horse was in quicksand. So just in that less than 24 hours, that completely changed. And that's probably the most frustrating part as a handicapper, because everything that you think you know, you don't. And it can just change so fast, especially if it rains, if it's this or that. So the main thing that I would suggest, like when you're playing this, is if you're playing, especially like the pick 5s and the pick 6s, if you have leverage to buy those Tapeta races, buy them. I know that they say, you don't hit the all ball, it's lazy. It's not even about being lazy. It's just about the fact that you don't know that. Now, maiden special weights, I have an advantage, and people know how to look at horses have an advantage because they're not really fit. But on the other side of that, you don't have to be 100% fit to win on the Tapeta. You really don't. You could be like 3 works short and still win. So I try to buy those races when I can. But I don't pay attention to the buyer figures, because I feel like those for the Tapeta, it's just way too much guessing. You'll see like an 81 and it's like a $8,000 claimer. Like, no, that's not. But it's just the way that it plays. So just treat it as 3 different surfaces. And I found that kind of the sire stats for the Tapeta play out a little bit better too, which is nice. Like Yoshida is a really good Tapeta producer, which I had no idea. And like Antonio Sano had a horse a couple weeks ago, and that's a guy that, he races his horses into fitness and races them every other week. But first time on the Tapeta, and Yoshida was like 27%. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. The horse won at 20-1.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Joe, that's one of the things that I've always found fascinating in watching Sam's report, and Sam and Brian, of course, and Ron, pre-race, is they throw up these statistics, both good and bad, as far as like horses and trainer and jockey combinations that work really well in this scenario, and other ones that you want to stay the hell away from. Which surprises me sometimes, because like you guys threw up there a couple of days ago, there was a trainer jockey combination and a horse that was coming back in distance. And I was like, oh, okay, and the horse is like 3-1. I was like, oh, this is a cinch. The horse has got the buyer numbers, sheet numbers. And Joe, it was like they were 0 for 32. And it was a trainer that wins at a 20% win percentage. So you knew that something was going on. And now, sure enough, the horse ran 4th, and now the statistic kind of keeps going. But Sam, are you seeing patterns like that more and more, because now you've been there for a few years and you kind of have seen the regulars kind of go through different scenarios?
Yeah, you can kind of tell when people are just like taking a shot, like throwing something at the wall. Like, you mentioned with Cassie, like, just his ways of doing things, or, like, hey, if this person is dropping the horse in class, adding blinkers, and then they're going to go 2 turns on the tapeta, you're like, that's like, wave the red flag here. Yeah. But I mean, sometimes you can get lucky. And I think maybe as horsemen, that's what kind of the appeal is to the tapeta, is you might not have, 1, a fit horse, 2, a horse that's any good. And on any given Sunday, they can win.
Right.
Because just the perfect storm will strike up. You could run the same race 5 different times within 10 minutes and get a different result every single time.
Right.
No doubt. Last question from me. It's a personal one, because you're in Okie. You're from the Oklahoma area. You're in Miami now. Basically, it's a pretty big culture shock. Like, I'm sure you've been a couple other places along the way. Yeah. Like, how does it compare? Because I love Miami, but I know, like, being there all year in the summer, it gets hot as hell, and it can be a little bit of a grind. How are you liking it down there, like, compared to, like, where you grew up?
Home is always home, and the cost of living definitely is so much cheaper in Oklahoma, and the ice cream is a lot better in Oklahoma than I've found anywhere here. We've got a really good local ice cream place in Oklahoma, but the weather is something that you really can't beat down here, which is just so nice, because even when it's so hot, I would rather suffer for 2 months than be in the cold. My body just doesn't do well in the cold anymore. And it was like, 67 degrees on Saturday, and I was wearing a turtleneck.
You're soft now. You're Miami soft.
My blood has completely thinned. But I think the biggest culture shock is just the people. You could go up to somebody who looks just like me, and you speak to them in English, and then they come out like Slavic, and you're like, whoa.
Right.
Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. All right.
It's a melting pot for sure, but it's good, except the traffic. Everybody's coming back down here for the winter time now, so the traffic gets.
Yeah.
Luckily, I just go from work to home, so it doesn't really.
All right. Is there one hot spot that a snowbird or somebody visiting the Miami area, Hollywood area, should definitely hit before they leave?
Well, Gulfstream first.
Come on.
For sure.
Right,
I know.
Good.
That's given. Oh, gosh. That's so tough. I'm a workaholic. I don't have time to figure out a lot of things. I guess I'm trying to think of like a specific place, but I can't even think of one of those. But the beach.
Right, we'll edit this out.
Y'all already know that.
We'll edit this out. All right. So Joe's got the last question then, obviously. All right, Joe, go ahead and close it.
So Sam, who knows nothing about Miami,
basically, what if I just said Club Space? I was like, I was there till like 7 a.m. this morning.
There you go.
What?
There you go.
Oh.
Space, I know.
I have done that on a Sunday night though, because Space like never closes, and there's been a Sunday night where a friend and I have gone out, and then all of a sudden it's Monday morning, and you look at your phone and it's 10 a.m. and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, they do like 24-hour parties.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I know a couple Space Cadets.
Yeah. I'm not one. I try. I faked it, and I was like, I don't know. I think being in bed sounds a little bit more fun. And then I was like, contemplating. I saw that she was like, should we go home now? I was like, wait, no, there's morning traffic. We got to wait another hour.
That sounds like a local.
The sun goes down again.
That's right.
I got shit.
Oh my God.
Gotta stay longer. Sorry.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, that sun coming up is harsh.
Yes.
All
right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this was a lot of fun. Samantha Perry, excellent analyst at Gulfstream Park. Check her out this weekend. The championship meeting underway. Thank you for coming on. This was a blast.
Thank you, guys. I always have so much fun. I always have people ask me, when are you going back on Rail Talk? We had so much fun. My mom is anxiously awaiting this episode. So it's always so much fun. And you guys, you really, and I don't just say that because I'm friends with Jonathan and he also paid me to say this. You guys really do a phenomenal job at getting all sides of everything. And that's something that I appreciate. And you have to respect the candid conversations, Joe, and you too, Jonathan, you guys have.
Thank you. No,
and I mean that. I seriously do.
We appreciate it greatly. Thank you. What's your mom's name?
Valerie.
Valerie, you raised a wonderful individual, and also Sam. And we're greatly thankful that you are a listener. And don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe.
Yes, please do that, everybody. So then you don't miss an episode.
Right.
Exactly. Thanks, Sam. Talk to you soon.
Thank you guys. Talk soon.